We weren't really sure if there was an error there or whatever, but we thought for due diligence, we needed to actually go to bid and make sure that the prices were what they should be. What ended up happening was the CoStar's bid we got didn't include the general prime contractor. And it also didn't, we found out just the other day, it didn't include the controls aspect, which was the Siemens aspect of it, but that was included in the prices that came back for the bid. And that was an additional $70,000. So on top of the 600 and I think it was $617,000 that the company wanted through CoStar's, it would have been an additional $70,000 to get the Siemens work done. So the bid tabulation results, our final price here, though high, is a little over $50,000 less than it would have been if we went through CoStar's, had Siemens do their control work, and then had the general prime contractor. So we had 18 people who visited the pre-bid meeting on September 18th. The bid opening was held on October 10th, and there were 9 total bid contracts opened. 1 for the general prime contractor, which is the person that'll do the demolition and take the wall out, because there's a wall in there that needs to be taken out in order to even get the old chiller out and the new chiller in. Then 6 for HVAC. This is the main contract, which is to actually put the chiller in, install the chiller, install the cooling tower, install the pumps. And then 2 for electrical, which they run the electric to the chiller, the cooling tower, the pumps, and make sure that everything's powered up. The recommended accepted bid, which was the only bid for the prime contractor, was CB Construction Services, and their bid was $79,748. I wasn't very surprised that we only got 1 bid on that. A lot of times we don't get a lot of bids on things that are lower priced because people don't want to bother often. Even though $80,000 is a lot to them, apparently it's not. And then the HVAC prime contractor, lowest bidder was Hostler Enterprise, and their price is at $616,000, which was about $15,000 or $1,500 less than the CoStar's contractor, but their price included the $70,000 worth of controls work. So that's where we get a savings. And electrical prime contractor lowest bidder was Orbit Technology Services at $18,400. It's a lot of money, but the chiller is failing. There's not a whole lot we can do. I don't think we won't go through another cooling season with the one we got.
Thank you for doing your due diligence with that. Does anyone have any questions or further comments about the chiller at Conowalgo? All right, we'll go ahead and move up 1 second.
I'm just curious, Mr. Pratt, what are what's the extent of the construction services needed for the job?
It's basically taking out block wall, bringing in steel to put a new structure under it, because that wall doesn't go back again. So there's a mezzanine up above that where we do all our work from, and we have equipment up there that we need to make sure stays standing once we remove the wall that's holding it up. So they'll brace it. However they do that, they'll bring in their steel and take the block wall out, put the steel in, and then it'll be an open area. The reason we can do that is because we're putting in a mag bearing chiller, which are much quieter and more energy efficient than what we had prior to that. If we were to put in the same kind, we would have to take the wall out and then replace it with a new wall, because they're so loud that it would interrupt classes and things like that.
So the current chiller is larger than the opening that we had to
Yes, the current chiller will be cut into pieces to be brought out, and then the new chiller is also much larger than the opening. When you walk into the room, you have to actually go straight in, and then there's another door right to the right. You would have to hook around with an entire chiller. It's impossible. They built the room apparently around the
That's what I was
Around the
getting
chiller.
at. They built the room around the chiller.
Which isn't, I mean, since then, we've done blowout panels and different things that we can remove. We did it it was done at the pool when we took out the pool pack system. There was already a section of wall that is able to be removed and put back in.
And
But
so this is setting us up for the next replacement that we won't have to pay the extra cost, and as well as the electrical
right,
upgrade.
yeah, we'll be able to get in and out without.
Because we know these new units just don't last as long as the old stuff.
Unfortunately, no, I was just at a conference and I went to one of the classes was on the fact that things are being built to fail at this point. And they don't build them to last 40 years. They build them to last 20 years. And often school districts and other places are replacing something before they're even done paying the old one off. So.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
All right, we'll go ahead and move on to 2.2 additional capital projects for school year 2023-2024.
Right, 2.2 middle school outside entranceway columns are to be scraped, wire wheeled, primed and painted. In the past, over the years, back when I started as the painter 16 years ago or whatever it was, they were already failing a year after the building was built because the columns are made out of galvanized steel. It shouldn't be painted probably within 6 months to a year after it's put up because there's oils and different things in it. And if you were to do it, you would want to prime it properly and then put a good finish on it. But it wasn't primed. They didn't wait, so they just painted over it. And during the winter and during the summer and the winter, the expansion and contraction causes the paint to fail. So what we would do, we would go and scrape the paint off what we could with scrapers and prime it and paint it. Everything that we were successfully able to scrape and paint has held up because we used a very good primer and a very good paint. But then every couple years, more expansion and contraction allows for the paint we weren't able to scrape off to come loose. So this company is going to use a wire wheel and they'll use scrapers too, but the wire wheel they'll take the finish off that we weren't able to get off, prime it and paint it. They usually give a 1-year warranty. I did insist on having an email in writing that we have at least 2 years because that's typically the time it would take for us to see it failing. So they gave us 2-year warranty in writing and I think it'll make the middle school look a lot better because that looks horrible. It's probably the worst looking thing in the whole district, especially for a newer building. Any questions on that?
So, are you able, because it says here they're going to mechanically grind existing coatings that are failing. So you can clearly see where you painted before
Yeah.
and where the old.
Yeah, it's there's like a lip. The paint that they used before was very thick. So
everywhere
you can clearly
you can see. So then are they going to repaint everything as an end coat?
Yeah, everything will be painted again.
Okay.
Yep. Yep.
Well, let's hope it sticks.
Yep.
Thank you.
Any questions? All right. High school stadium. We had Gingrich Excavating out to give us some estimates on repairing. If you go down along the side of the fenceway and the driveway going down the side of the stadium to the bottom of the football field, it used to be a walking path and then somebody put in some stone next to it. So when people walk there, it's very uneven. When we have graduations, girls are in their high heels, they're tripping, and it's just a hazard for that, and it's also a hazard to drive on. So they're going to put an 8-foot drive around the whole bottom side. That's the $9,047 quote. And then up top, if you are standing with your back to the concession stand looking at the stadium, all along the front fencing that separates the driveway from the bleachers, there's big patches of grass all the way down So this would be to excavate that and put in blacktop so that we could create some handicap parking spaces and everything along that fence. It's been something that we've been talking about for a couple years, and I thought the pricing was very reasonable.
No, and also for the pathway as well, that was to help like individuals with wheelchairs and
Yeah,
so forth.
yeah.
Because, going from blacktop to large stone gravel to back to the walking path. So this will make it a smooth transition for individuals that will be able to use it.
Yeah.
Does anyone have any questions?
The fencing that you're talking about, like, is that the fencing that separates where the bleachers?
Yeah,
So there's gonna be parking, like people will be able to drive right up against where the fencing is?
it will be close to the fencing, yes. We already have people park up there. They just drive up there and park in the middle of the field off to the left, and that's kind of a safety hazard for people on wheelchairs and things
To be
like
able to
that.
come out and,
But that is a good point. I mean, we may look into seeing if,
like something like a barrier or
Some type
something
of
like that
barrier,
to,
yeah.
like, so if, just in case if someone's not paying attention and they keep going, like, cause there's folks that are usually standing up in that area on the other side of that fence.
mm,
You know what I mean?
yeah,
Am I thinking of the right
Yes, you are.
place or no?
Yes.
Jamie,
Okay.
we're blacktopping the entire patch, not, I thought this for the parking was behind the lockers, the stadium locker rooms.
no, it's all the way from like where the driveway comes up, right when it gets to the top, it's all the way from there, all the way down to the locker rooms. So it's they'll basically run it from there all the way down there.
To that point, we might want to look because we might want to put only parking where it's not leading up to where pedestrians stand and sit.
Okay, and that's okay. We can
Mhm.
decide I mean, I still think the paving aspect would be good, and we can decide what we wanna.
No, and it would help because like organizations like PTO sell things there, the booster clubs sell things there, the band, the marching band.
Yeah.
So I think that would, I'm definitely for doing it.
Food trucks or.
Yeah,
you know,
absolutely.
whatever. Yeah,
It'll just look cleaner.
yeah,
It'll look cleaner.
yeah, it never looks good, those areas.
All right. Any other questions or comments? All right, we'll go ahead and move on to 2.3, the capital reserve plan update. So as of through the end of September, we have a total of $18.9 million sitting in capital reserve. Mr. Geller, would you be able to verify for us? Because a chunk of that money, correct, was money allocated for the high school project?
Yes. So some of that we're backfilling. So the only column that you'll see in the attachment right now, I have it down to 17.1, but the only one I'm still trying to work through is the high school to figure out exactly what it is. All the other columns are correct. So we're showing in the bank account of 18.9, but with journal entries, I think we're down to 17.1 once we backfill the general fund as we go through the audit. But I'm still trying to confirm that number. So we're not gonna focus on the high school column tonight.
Okay.
The column that we were mostly there was two columns to center on, but mostly is the physical plant and then some of the items that Jamie had already discussed related to the stadium upgrades. So as you work through this, if you go to the attachment, there's two different spreadsheets. It's going to draw you to CR capital reserve as of 3/31. You want to slide over to the one that says capital reserve as of 09/30/2023. And really the center on it to start is on A19. So if you're playing Battleship, that's where you have a hit. And that's $4.4 million. What's listed in a lot of zeros are expenses that have already been paid, but wanted to list what they were. So they're comments. So if you just hover over that cell, even though it says zero, so for parking lot and football field relining, it was 15,403 for the expenditures related to that. And you go down the list as well for the Spring Forge boiler, the intercom system. Part of the report I have for that though is still a little bit work in process, although that's new. It's not, we paid that, but it's still a little bit more work that needs to be done. Then there's some expenses in here for the Orndorff chiller, toilet partitions that were put in. And then as you slide down into the green, have it highlighted in green. Oh, I'm sorry, there's some others. LED lights, this is a portion of what's been paid so far to date. I think it's 1,383. And then there's a compilation, some other expenses, about $5,000.
We don't see those I don't see those numbers that Mr. Geller can see. Yeah.
You can't see those?
You see the comment there? The
You
done?
cannot see those?
No,
Oh,
but we can see you mousing around, which is really nice to follow along,
I'm
we
sorry.
can't
You
see-
cannot actually see after you click on that.
right?
Well, that's
We
my,
can't see that information.
that's my not knowing Google Sheets enough to understand what people can and cannot see. So you want me to go over those again then? Parking lots was 15.4. The Spring Forge boiler was 192,000. Conewaga intercom was 21.4 thousand. The chiller repair was 12,500. The toilet partitions is 6,000. The LED is 1,400. And then there's about 5,000 of other expenses. And then what's listed underneath that is items that are still being considered for, that have not been paid or being considered. So for example, the Conewago chiller architect fee for $13,250 to use core design is listed there. And then if the board does accept the 3 different primes, that totals $714,148. And that was the report that Jamie gave. There's also the quote that Jamie produced tonight for the middle school columns for $11,500. What's listed above there is building envelope. That's listed over a couple years. So the amount that was set aside and allocated for this year was $60,000. And there's an opportunity that Jamie's going to talk about possibly being able to get a new dump truck. We tried ordering. This is not ordering. This is a vehicle that's sitting on a lot. And so that leaves an ending balance. So that's about $900,000 of expenses yet to spend in addition to some of the things that have already been done this year. So we spent over $1 million in physical. If all these things go through, we'll have spent over $1 million in the physical plant column, and we're bringing in revenue of $700,000 transfer from general fund over to capital reserve. And then as you go down the years, Jamie has taken some time to try to update and fill in some more details with new information. So I'll turn it back over to you.
Okay, so in the green, the 60,000 building envelope, that I don't know exactly what it'll cost, but I'm meeting with Horizon Engineering to talk about they're a Horizon that did our what's the word? Now I'm drawing a blank, but they basically made sure things were working when they were installed at the high school project. We can't blame them that they didn't keep working, but they have another division that does just building envelopes. So that I'm going to meet with them and they're going to give me a price on what it would cost for them to go through and tell us what's wrong with our building envelope. So that's what that 60,000 there is for, give or take, to pay for those services. Another company that I had reached out to a while before that was a little under that, but they were more interested in the mechanical parts of our building. So I wanted to go with somebody that specifically dealt with building envelopes. So I'll be meeting with them. The dump truck, we had already approved that. I'm looking at a couple vehicles that are on lots, and what I would have to do is go to bid and spec out the vehicle and a time frame that we need it in. And if we don't receive any bids from somebody else saying that they can provide this vehicle by November 30th or whenever we say, then we can go and purchase from somebody else. So we're trying to find different avenues to purchase something since the traditional or currently traditional ones aren't working. It used to be, you used to just go to bid and that's what you did. And now Co-Stars is the typical way to do it, or through other cooperatives, and it just hasn't been panning out. So
Yeah, and with the supply chain and UAW and everything else, the ability to place an order and run it through the factory is just not happening.
even if I get an order, and I think it took us 1.5 years to get a van that we ordered. So I don't want to wait that long. If I have to, I'll do it that way. But we're trying to find a way to do it that we can get a truck quicker
But you have found 2 vehicles with the dump body and the plow already
already.
there on a brand new vehicle.
So what's stopping you from going that route other than the purchasing rules? What hurdle do you have to get over?
Talking, I'm waiting on a response from one of the dealerships on whether they'll work with me on that process, because they would have to hold the vehicle for a couple of weeks while we go through the bid. So,
Yeah, so if I'm a dealer right now, and it's not, the one thing in our advantage, in my opinion, is this is a high dollar value, low inventory movement when you're dealing with not just the chassis, but a dump body and a plow on it. But with the interest rates being pretty high, their cost of capital as a dealer is saying, well, if for the district to do it, we're a month away from today to be able to move this product. And if they lock in and make a commitment to us, that could be a problem. So that I think that's the only arduous piece, because we have to do a sealed bid, and they're paying at least prime rate on this inventory. So they're paying Lancaster Body, they're paying Ford, or they're paying, well, it's not Ford. I can't think of who it is Ford and
one's a
somebody
Dodge,
else.
One's a Ford.
What's that?
One's a Dodge, one's a Ford.
Yeah, so they have a lot of cost built into this, so their profit margins are quickly being eaten up through interest rates. Interest expense.
We just started this process on Thursday, and I was off on Friday, so we'll make it happen.
This is probably the best option for the district to be able to get something. They're most likely, hopefully, would guarantee their rate that they're offering on the street. But if they don't, it's because their interest expense, I would think, is why they would have to increase their sealed bid.
Right.
So we would need an okay to do a bid.
So that would be one of the recommendations for tonight.
Yes, please.
Okay.
Sure. Yeah, it was a little late when we started doing it on Thursday to.
Yeah, because we've been talking about how do we accomplish this, and it's his hard work over here, just trying to work the process, and he came across
They don't make it easy.
a couple lots that actually finally had what we were looking for
I've actually
on their
found
lot.
vehicles that are lower than the price that we got from Ford or from Dodge, but because they're not through a cooperative, I can't purchase them. All right, any other questions on the dump truck? Then we have the chiller prices here, like Brian mentioned, the columns, the walkway to the stadium. We talked about all of those. Down in the next, in the 24-25. Originally, we had Mount Wolf chiller, Mount Wolf unit ventilators. Also the Mount Wolf pneumatic control system. This is the system that controls the thermostats and all the unit ventilators that was put in the early 90s and was kind of antiquated when it was put in. We need to change all of that, and I think we need to do a little bit more homework on picking the right systems. Originally, our plan was to replace all the chillers, all the boilers, all the water heaters with the same brand and the same style so that our guys could work on them easier. But with the pricing that we just got on this last chiller, I don't feel like I'm beholden to any brand at this point, and I want to talk to somebody that's non-biased on and just knows quality of different brands of chillers and unit ventilators, and try to come up with a with a system that's a good price and a good value for the district. So I pushed that till the next year, and we're not having a lot of problems with the Mount Wolf chiller right now. It's just old. And I feel like with these prices getting up near $1 million to replace a chiller and water and a cooling tower, I think we just need to do a little more homework and then maybe do an entire project where we do the ventilators, the chiller, the water tower, do it all at the same time. Because the other aspect that we need to look at is currently there's a 2-pipe system in all the elementary schools, which means there's no dehumidification. It's also the system that they put in Spring Forge for some reason, even though it was built in 2000. And we want to look into, even though it's more money, whether we want that dehumidification to cut down on mold and things like that. We haven't had a lot of problems in the elementary schools, but it's just common to put in a 4-pipe system now at this point to bring in dehumidification. So I just want to do a little more homework and talk to some more people. And since the chiller isn't actually going to go until this summer at Conawago, I don't want to do 2 chiller projects in the same summer. So any questions on that part? So I pushed those off till the next year. But we originally just had the Orndorff carpet first floor in for next year, which was at the time $167,000. Pricing is increasing a little bit, the manufacturer told me, so I increased it a little bit. The second floor has a little bit more square footage that needs to be carpeted. So I brought the second floor up to the same year, so we could just not knock that project out all at once. And I also added a little to the building envelope. That $100,000 would be to go towards the actual repairs of whatever it is that Horizon or whoever we use comes back with. So maybe we could do some of those repairs this spring and this summer. Just truck replacement. We have a 2007 Chevy pickup truck. I'm told that one will be a little bit easier to source, the pickup than I'm able to source the dump. We'll try to go through the traditional way and get one with a plow and a spreader on it, just like the other one. And then we have LED upgrades, and the district phone system is not something that I have something to do with. We don't need to talk about that right now, but we did leave it in there for discussion. Did anybody have any questions about any of those? And then that's it. That ends my report.
All right, thank you. A lot of information. But as you can see, with prices increasing, it's very important that we, Vanessa, in her budget presentation, we already increased the money going into that capital reserve fund. And as you can see, with just a small list of projects, we already outspent the increased amount. So with the raising of prices, it would be my recommendation, that we look at potentially even adding more, depending on, how the numbers fall with the budget. We also got to keep in mind, that the local taxpayers foot a large majority of the bill. So we have to be mindful of that as well. All right, we'll go down to 3, committee discussion. Does anyone have anything else that they would like to discuss? Jamie, the one thing I wanted to, how did at Orndorff, with removal of all the cabinets and so forth, how did that to prepare for the carpet project?
That went pretty well. We actually had one of our summer helpers and one of our maintenance guys did them together. It didn't take long to get them out. The first one that we took out, we actually were like, oh no, this is going to be horrible, because when we took out the 2 cabinets on the side, there were no sides on the middle cabinet. But that ended up being the room that had flooded out a few years before that. So they actually took the side panels off. When we got to the next room, it had nice sides on it. And then we just went through every single room to check, and everything else checked out and had sides on it. So all we had to do was remove the old cabinets, bring them to the incinerator. And then we bought some carpet squares and put them in place of where the cabinets were to so that it wasn't a big tripping hazard until we put the new carpet in this summer.
Great. Anything else? All right, we'll move on to number 4, public comment. Is there any public comment? There is not. So we'll move to number 5, Building and Grounds Committee recommendations to the school board. So the items that I have listed is the Conowalgo Elementary chiller bid. I have the middle school columns project. I have the high school stadium paving project. And then I also have a new one with a recommendation for the seal bid for the dump truck. Is there anything else that the administration would like to add?
So the only thing I would note is we took the liberty of adding most of those into the agenda for tonight. So recognize that. So under buildings and grounds and action items, we have results of the Conowalgo Elementary chiller bid, the middle school columns and the high school stadium paving. We don't have anything related to being okay for us to do a dump truck bid. I don't know that we need a motion for that. We just need to make sure that the committee's okay with us moving forward with that. And we would bring the bid tabulations back to you towards the end of November our target would be the end of November, the 20th.
Is this a situation where you need a motion for this purchasing maneuver or not?
I don't think so. We just need to do a sealed bid.
Get it, and we have to say, yeah,
Okay, good. Yes.
they're doing their due diligence right now.
I say move forward with the sealed bids process.
Does anyone have any concern or anything to move forward with the seal bid? Everyone comfortable with that?
Okay, thank you.
I think we're good. All right. Anything else? We'll go ahead and move on to number 6, old buildings and ground business. Yep, we already discussed that. Is there any new buildings and grounds business? The only thing I would say, Jamie, is, because you said you're going to meet with Horizon on the building envelope project. So just provide us with an update on their findings.
Will do.
All right. We'll move on to number 8, information items only. The next Buildings and Grounds Committee meeting will be on January 15th, 2024. If no one else has anything else, meeting adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you.